Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be books I personally want to read in 2022. None of these are books that are coming out in 2022. I will have a separate video for that, so stay tuned. But these are all murder mysteries that I really want to read in 2022. So let's go ahead and hop into the first one. The first one is called Dead Dead Girls, a Harlem Renaissance Mystery, and it's by Nekesa, Afia. And this is the first in the Harlem Renaissance Mystery book series. Of course, this mystery does take place in Harlem in like the 1920s, so this is particularly set in 1926. And so our main character, Luis, works in a cafe during the day and is at a speakeasy at night. However, she ends up realizing that after the course of a few weeks, two different girls, two different African-American women are murdered during just a few weeks, and so she's noticing a pattern and she ends up investigating it and turning up things. So I'm really interested in this book. It sounds like it's going to be a really, not like a super warm and fuzzy cozy mystery, but it does sound like it is like a really interesting like historical fiction kind of murder mystery, which I'm a big fan of. And I personally think the cover art's what really drew me in. When I first saw it, I was like, I need to read that. That looks amazing. I love the cover art so much, so I'm going to be checking that out this year. And with any of these, if you have read them, let me know down below and let me know what you are going to be reading this year so I can add your reads to my list as well, because I'm really excited for these. Okay, so my next one is one of the biggest classic murder mysteries of all time, and that is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, of course. And this is one of her, I'm going to try to say the name correctly, Hercule Poirot mysteries. This is book 10 in his like mystery series, and basically he is on a train and a millionaire on the train ends up murdered after the train is stopped. So it's undoubtedly somebody within the train who murdered this man, and so Mr. Poirot is on the case trying to figure out what happened to him. I just got into reading Agatha Christie this last year and I just love her. I've so far only read Miss Marple or like some of her standalone other ones, so this one I'm going to make my first Hercule Poirot one, and I'm super excited because I've heard so many good things, and this is supposed to be one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, Agatha Christie mystery out there, so I'm really excited. I also really want to watch some of the movie adaptations, but I'm definitely one of those people who has to read the book first, so we're going to go ahead and read that this year, get into some of the movies. If you have any movie recommendations for this, let me know. I would love to know any of your thoughts on any of the Agatha Christie like movie adaptations. Let me know, and let's go and hop into our next one. Alright, so this next one was actually a nominee on Goodreads for mystery this year. I don't believe it won, but it is one of the nominees, and I've had it on my to-read list for a while, and having it nominated definitely was like, okay, I need to get on reading this. You know, everyone keeps saying it's so good. And this book is called Arsenic and Adobo. It's by Mia P. Mansanala. I'm really sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Manasala? Manasala. I think I'm saying that right. I'm trying my best. And basically our main character, Lila, she's moved back home after a really bad breakup, and she has to help her family member, Tita Rosa's restaurant, and like kind of get it back into a better business place. This is the first in the series, which is the Tita Rosa mystery series. I'm sorry, Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery Series. And so while she's back home, she's having to deal with all of her well-meaning but kind of nosy, pushy family members who are trying to get her to be matchmaked with different people. And a food critic actually ends up on the door of Tita Rosa's family restaurant, and I think they end up saying some negative things about the restaurant, and quickly after that they end up dead, which of course doesn't look so good for the restaurant. And on top of that, the food critic is actually Lila's ex-boyfriend, so there's just a lot of things happening there, a lot of layers, so it's not looking good for her, and she goes on the case to try to figure out what happened and to clear her family restaurant's name and to help her family in the process. So this book just has amazing ratings. I've heard so much about it. It was nominated on Goodreads, so I'm just like, okay, you don't have to twist my arm. I'm going to be reading this year, so let me know if you've read this. I know it's a very popular mystery this year, so definitely let me know if you've read it. So this next book is Death by Dumpling by Vivian Chen, and this is a Noodle Shop mystery. This is book 1 in the series. I just recently talked about in my January new releases for Cozy Mysteries, which I'll link above and in the description if you want to check it out, that they have book 9, I believe, is coming out this January, and that book sounded amazing, but I need to read the first one, and I'm just really excited for this. It sounds really good. So this is book 1 of 8 so far, and 9 will be coming out very soon. And so our main character is Lana Lee, and she basically just went through a breakup as well, you know, common cozy mystery trope. And she also had a very dramatic workplace like walkout of her job, it sounds like. And so she's back home at her family's Asian restaurant. This isn't exactly where she thought she'd be at this age or like at this point in her life, so she's not exactly thrilled with everything going on. And on top of this, Lana's mother is really pushing her to like set her up with different people, trying to find her a husband, which isn't probably helping her get over the breakup. But I guess not fortunately, but there is a distraction soon after that, because the restaurant's property manager ends up dead, and everyone knows he has a life-threatening shellfish allergy apparently, and he ended up being poisoned by a delivery of dumplings that had shellfish like mixed into them. So now the restaurant's looking very guilty, and Lana has to go on the case to figure out what happened, to clear the restaurant's name, and also to maybe get her mother off of her back a little bit about finding a husband. So this just sounded really good. I've heard some amazing things about it. It's got really high reviews, and yeah, what's not to love about dumplings, right? I love it. Like, I mean, a good cozy food mystery. There's just nothing better. I love bookish themed cozy mysteries. And I love the culinary ones. Those are like my two soft spots especially. They're just, who doesn't love food? It's so good. Okay, so our next one is Hollywood Homicide, The First Detective, and this is by Kelly Garrett. And this won so many awards in 2018 when it was released, and I even won the Agatha Award for Best First Novel, which is incredible. Can you imagine winning that? That would be incredible. And basically it stars our main character, Dana, who is an actress. And so it sounds like Dana's had a pretty interesting acting career so far. She's like very famous, but she's broke. It doesn't really go into this in the summary, but she's very broke for some reason. And her parents are about to lose their house, and she's really trying to prevent that from happening. And so when she witnesses a hit and run, she tries to discover who did it, because there's a $15,000 reward for anybody who uncovers who did it. So Dana's on the case trying to figure out what it is. She definitely wasn't going into it to be a detective, but she's trying to save her parents' home. This is book 1 out of 2 in the series, and yeah, if you've read this before, let me know. Okay, so the next one I want to read is another classic. I really got into some Sherlock Holmes this year, and so I want to read the next book in the series, which is The Sign of Four by Sir Conan Arthur Doyle. I have the this right here, which has The Sign of Four in it, so I'm really excited to read this. This is basically really short synopsis. I guess it involves like India, and there's some 4 different convicts in India, I believe, and they make some kind of secret pact that brings them together and ends up in murder in some way, and Sherlock Holmes is of course on the case with his brilliant deductions as always. I do find it interesting with Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie because the plots are very hard to guess like who did it, like because a lot of the things are kind of kept within the character's head, like you don't have exposure to what they're thinking like more contemporary novels usually have. So I do find it to be kind of a different type of mystery, because I don't try to actively solve it as much. I kind of just enjoy like going along for the ride, so it's kind of a different experience for me, which I like. So I'm excited to read that. I'm just in general looking forward to reading more Sherlock Holmes, so The Sign of Four will be my next read for that. The next book is called Miss Pinkerton, and this is by Mary Roberts Reinhardt, and she's actually the one who kind of popularized the trope The Butler did it, and that's no spoiler for this one. I have no idea who did it in this book. I just know that she's famous for having made that like a trope within the mystery like genre, even though she didn't actually use it very much apparently. So I'm really interested in this. Basically the main character, Miss Pinkerton, is a like detective amateur sleuth, and someone rich and famous near her ends up committing suicide, but she suspects along with others that it wasn't actually suicide, so she ends up going undercover and posing as a nurse within the household to collect intel and to find out more information about the victim, to see if she really does think if it was a suicide or if it was murder like she suspects. So I'm trying to branch out. I love contemporary murder mysteries, but I also really enjoy some of these more like classic mysteries like this. So I've never read anything by Mary Roberts Reinhardt before, but I've been really enjoying Christie and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, so I thought, you know what, let's add it on. If you have any classic writers you'd recommend that are mystery writers, let me know. Alright, the next one is called The Cutting Season, and this is by Attica Locke, and this is definitely not a super cozy mystery. This is more just like a historical fiction mystery novel, and basically it takes place like on a plantation, and our main character, Karen Gray, lives on this plantation, and I guess it appears that her mother was a like household servant within the household on the plantation, and then her grandmother was actually a slave on the plantation, but she ended up somehow like inheriting or like gaining rights to the plantation at some point. And so this is a little bit definitely like of a deeper mystery. Like I said, it's not like super cozy, you know, you're not getting the vibes from the cover or anything. It's very like apparent, but apparently this mystery has two different murders that are going on, one that ties in a modern murder and one that ties in the murder of a slave from a long time ago. So I'm kind of interested in this. I don't usually read, I usually prefer a little more of a cozy mystery. However, this one I was very interested in how the author is gonna like kind of use the like historical context to like weave into the mystery, and from what the reviews I've read, she's supposed to do a very good job of like representing history well and also like weaving in kind of racial commentary and stuff on this. So if if you're listening to this video for inspiration on reading, if you're looking for a cozy like warm-hearted or more humorous mystery, this definitely wouldn't be it for you. But if you do like a little more serious of a mystery that like involves history, because this does take place in contemporary times, but it involves a lot of history, so it's still kind of like a historical mystery in a way. So I haven't read anything by this author, but she's supposed to be very widely reviewed. I believe this is book 2 in the series, but they sound like they can be read as standalones, so we'll see. I just kind of want to branch out and continue reading because I just love mysteries of kind of all kinds for the most part. Okay, and the last one is definitely, this is not a murder mystery. This is more of a like a fantasy book, but I'm just throwing it in at the end. This is actually by a YouTuber. Her name is Katie Wismer, and I'll link her channel down below if you want to check it out. But her book is called The Marionettes. She actually has 2 of the series out right now, but the first book is called The Marionettes, and she has like a 3rd one coming out next year. And the main character's name is Valerie Darkmoor, and she is joining this like academy. It's like, I believe it's like a young adult fantasy, and she's joining this academy of witches that are like sworn to protect vampires. And it's definitely a little bit outside of my, it's actually a lot outside of my typical reading, but I love Katie on YouTube, and the more I hear her talk about it, it just sounds fun, and I do enjoy the occasional fantasy novel, so I thought this would be a fun read to add to my list. So I'm going to be checking that out. As always, everything will be linked up down below in the description if you want to check any of these books out for yourself, and I would love it if you would let me know down below what you're going to be reading this coming year. So let me know down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!